What's up, everyone? In this video, we have a lot to talk about. The stock market was all over the place today, but we ended up seeing a lot more bullish momentum than bearish momentum, and we had some pretty big news come out that we definitely have to cover. Inflation is actually at its lowest pace in over a year, which is awesome to see. And we actually have some stocks like BBBY going absolutely insane. Make sure to stick with us all the way to the end of today's video to get some of the best setups for tomorrow, the most important news that you need to know about, and towards the end we have a $1.7 million trade you won't want to miss. But Tom, let's get right into today's episode.
Yeah, 100%, Mike. You know, the stock market actually did pretty well here today. I will say we closed up green, up 0.36%, and we got the big CPI data come out that we've been waiting for a long time, Mike. So we had the CPI come out. It came out right at 6.5%, which is right around expectations. You can see here it says it's right in line with expectations from the economist poll by the Dow Jones. So that's cool to see there. And then when I go look at the chart, Mike, you know, the SPY very early on was actually falling down. I noticed right when the market opened, the SPY tanked, and in pre-market, the SPY was just all over the place. But we did end up in the green. A lot of big stocks like Microsoft, Meta, and a lot of other tech stocks ended up green. And like, look at this reversal on NVIDIA. NVIDIA was actually down a ton today and came all the way back up into the green. So overall, we got a pretty good move. And looking at that chart for inflation, it's just amazing to see us come in at 6.5% again. It shows that the inflation is still falling down, and it's falling down at the pace that the analysts were expecting. So it was overall a good thing for the stock market. I will say though, Mike, you know, I feel like the SPY could have had better movement. It was very, very choppy. We are approaching a big resistance at 400. And when we go to that daily chart, we're also sitting right on a major trend line.
Exactly. So I feel like today's inflation reading was good in the sense of, like, you know, it was right at analyst expectations, but it wasn't like amazing because at the end of the day, inflation is still really high and it needs to come down a lot in the future. So it's like, it was good, but not like great, right? With that being said, Tom, just like you said, for the SPY, we are at some very critical levels for resistance, and we have some key support levels pretty close as well. Can you give us more of an in-depth analysis on the SPY right now?
Yeah, so we had a very choppy day here. I feel like that there's a very big like convergence of buyers and sellers coming in here right around this $398 to $400 level. So the official like double top today, Mike, I would say is up here right around 398.50. That's officially where we hit there close to the end of the day and then started dipping off. So I'm really going to watch for a big push up through that tomorrow. If we can get a push up through there, I'll watch for a move possibly up to 400. I think 400 is going to be a big level to possibly get to. As far as support for tomorrow, intraday, there was a lot of bounces right around 396.50. I know, or actually right around 396, Mike. You can see at the end of the day, there was just a lot of candles there bouncing right off of that support. So I'm going to watch that level for a bounce back down, and then possibly we could come back down and retest 392, which is that low of pre-market and pretty much the low there right around market open. So hopefully we can at least get some good breakouts in either direction, Mike. Have a couple strategies in place, guys. You know, maybe watch for that big break above 398.50. If we get that, then possibly watch for calls early on. But if we end up falling down, watch for some of these retests of some of these lower supports.
Good stuff. So looking at the heat map of today, it was like mostly bullish. You know, some stocks like Meta and NVIDIA and Qualcomm did really great. Other stocks struggled a little bit, Tom. But like on a different note, this one group of stocks have been going absolutely crazy all week long, and that is the meme stocks. So if we look at companies like BBBY, they are just going crazy. BBBY, or Bed Bath & Beyond, is up over 50% today. Yes, 50% today. Like, it's insane. These meme stocks move in just jaw-dropping ways. They're very, very risky, but every now and then, like, they just explode quicker than like any other stock in the market.
Yeah, they do. I mean, look at some of these previous uptrends here by BBBY, like back in August of 2022. Like, look at some of these uptrends here. It ran from levels of like lows, honestly, around $5 all the way up to highs of 30. I mean, that is an insane jump. I'm not saying we're going to get that again here, but man, sometimes whenever this has continuations, you can get some pretty good moves to the upside. And it's very interesting, Mike. They've had a lot of news of bankruptcy lately. I saw some news today where they're talking with some potential like lenders and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's pretty crazy. It's running up 50%. I've heard rumors that there could be some possible short squeezes. And as we know, Mike, from the GameStop AMC situation, sometimes those short squeezes can go crazy. And, maybe this bankruptcy news will be exactly what BBBY investors are looking for to maybe get some price action here in the short term. But either way, Mike, it's going to be a risky play. I did see a lot of people banking off it today in the Discord, though, so definitely keep it on the radar.
Yeah, and I want to say great job to you, Tom, because you were actually talking about BBBY way early in the week. And I know you did mention, there was definitely potential for Wall Street Bets and, some of the meme trader crew to pick up on this one. And it's been rising nonstop. So great job to you for that. And guys, just keep a close eye on AMC, GameStop, BBBY. We want to reiterate these stocks are as risky as can be, but every now and then they move in just crazy ways.
Yeah, they do. I mean, look at some of these past uptrends here. And talking about crazy uptrends, Mike, I mean, let's go ahead and look at some of these levels here, because I'm actually noticing that there's a big resistance here right at $6. And that's actually really close to the high of day today for BBBY. You can see there was actually a big bounce here back in like June of 2022. Also got some bounces throughout July and August there. So definitely watch $6 here coming up tomorrow. This is a very volatile stock though. So I would expect, Mike, we might even get some moves in pre-market, but just be very careful around that high of day today and around 6. I think that could end up being a big resistance. If we end up falling down, I'm not really a big fan of playing this one to the downside just because of the momentum right now. I would say play it up, or at the minimum, Mike, I would probably just go play something else if this stock ends up falling.
Sounds good. So, Tom, tomorrow is going to be the big day in the sense of earnings season is really starting to kick off. I know bank earnings have been basically waited for all week long. We have some giant names set to report. What's on the schedule?
Yeah, so big day tomorrow. Bank of America, JP Morgan, Citigroup, and Wells Fargo will be reporting, along with Delta Airlines and United Health. But those banks, Mike, are going to be huge. So seriously, guys, watch out for Bank of America, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Citigroup. These banks actually had some pretty good moves today. A few of them ended up falling off quite a bit towards market close. But overall, I would say the majority of them had some good moves, especially like when you go look at Wells Fargo, for example. Like they had a great move early on and then fell off. Citigroup closed up a little bit higher than the others, though, which is nice. And Mike, I know you've been talking about Citigroup quite a bit lately.
Yeah, it's definitely a stock I like for the long term. They pay a pretty solid dividend, and I also like the price they're at just by that alone, too. And Warren Buffett bought into them somewhat recently, too. So I think overall, tomorrow will be very, very interesting for these bank stocks. Of course, the economy has been very crazy over the past couple years, and especially this most recent quarter. So I'm very curious to see how these banks end up holding up.
Yeah, me too. It's going to be a big report, Mike. And man, I can't wait to see it. I know it's going to bring a lot of volatility in. And I know the CPI reading today caused a lot of movement, and the SPY is very close to that key resistance. So if these bank earnings end up going worse than expected, we might see a big rejection here, but this might be exactly what we need to get this big push up through 400 and maybe finally break some of these upper sellers, that keep bringing in these sell orders at the highs and keep rejecting us back down. Eventually, we're going to get some buyers coming in, and we should break 400 here, hopefully, if these bank earnings go well.
You know it. Well, Tom, let's get right into some setups for tomorrow and just the short term in general. One stock I'm really watching is XBI. So this is actually a biotechnology ETF. Basically, it's just a bunch of biotech stocks all under one stock. This stock has done pretty well over the long term, and every now and then it goes on like a nice solid uptrend. And I think there's a good chance we're actually getting started with a new one for a couple of reasons. The first one is that we're just really starting to see some upwards momentum in the short term that we haven't seen in quite some time. Another thing is, as we can see on the chart right now, we actually had big smart money get into some 83 strike call options for June 16th of 2023, around $1.3 million worth, and they got in this on December 29th, which is awesome to see. And we're just breaking above some critical resistance levels right around like 86 to 86.50 or so. So overall, it's definitely a stock that I'll be watching closely, not only tomorrow, but over like the next couple days and weeks.
Man, Mike, those guys who got into those calls down there on the 29th are going to be happy right now. This stock has been flying up. They got in somewhere on the stock around $80 whenever they were around like 80 to 82. Now we're pushing like 87, almost up to 90, but that's a huge breakout here. Glad to see the break. And yeah, XBI looks pretty fantastic. And looking at big breakouts, I'm actually going to call out Palantir, Mike. I'm really hoping for a big break of the key $7 resistance. $7 has been a huge level on Palantir for a long time. I know Palantir is a favorite of a lot of traders out there in the Discord. And man, I'm really hoping that we get a big break tomorrow up above 705. There's a lot of stocks setting up for some breakouts. We've been on a very nice uptrend this week. So hopefully we continue up and we get that big break.
Sounds good. Another one I'm watching is Tilray, which is kind of like a meme stock. I've been talking about it quite a bit over the past week. It's starting to run up in a nice way. Like I said, it's kind of moving with those meme stocks, and we all know how those meme stocks are. Like if a couple of them start to run up, a lot of them move in sympathy, and they tend to just have like a bunch of nice upwards movement. So it's definitely on my watch list to the upside going forward.
Yeah, and these marijuana stocks, as we know, can also have a mind of their own and just go insanely crazy to the upside off of some news as well. Like look at some of these past uptrends on Tilray. Like in the past, they've ran from lows of like $5 all the way up to highs of 66. And then before that, even on the first big marijuana uptrend, they ran from like 22 up to 300. So Tilray has had a crazy lifespan, Mike. I'm really hoping that this stock can get back up. And I know that a lot of these marijuana stocks have some big investors and a lot of big backers. So hopefully Tilray can end up being good. And I think for the next few days, it can end up being a pretty big play too. And I know oil has also been going crazy a lot lately, crazy to the upside, especially this year. And I'm looking at Oxy for tomorrow. I noticed that they're starting to bounce on the daily chart off this lower trend line again. We dipped below there momentarily for a little while, started to fall down, but now we're actually back up through there, kind of confirming back up. I feel like if we start to break above this big resistance around 66.60 right here on the daily, I think that we could get another big extension up tomorrow. So keep your eyes on Oxy and the oil stocks. I noticed that they kind of went back on the uptrend today.
All right, sounds great. Tom, there's one other stock that I just want to talk about really quickly. Basically TSM, or Taiwan Semiconductors. This company had a hell of a day today. It closed up around 6.5%. They reported earnings, which was good to see. While the whole semiconductor industry has been slowing, TSM is expected to outperform some of their competitors, which is good. And then another thing is that even though they missed on their sales, they actually beat on earnings expectations, which is great to see. And TSM has really been outperforming like NVIDIA, AMD, and Intel like over the past couple weeks and months. So I definitely think it's worth watching because it has a lot of momentum, and it really had a good day today.
Yeah, that was awesome. They had a huge break. I mean, look at TSM over the past couple weeks. They've had a couple key breaks to the upside and huge gaps. So I love Taiwan Semiconductors, Mike. I love all the chip stocks, to be honest with you. I think that as time goes on, these chip stocks are going to become amazing. Some of them aren't at the best prices right now. I'm still waiting for a couple more to fall down a little bit, like AMD and NVIDIA, like you mentioned. AMD is really close to some big supports as well. But I will say TSM's awesome. That was a big uptrend, and keep it on the radar. I know they've actually had a lot of big news of foundries and people working with them too over the past couple months. So yeah, I mean, they've had a lot of big headlines.
All right, well, with that being said, let's get right into the momentum plays for tomorrow. With the first one, we have Coinbase to the upside again.
Yeah, again, Mike, this thing's been going crazy this week. They had some good news early in the week with like layoffs, and hopefully they keep ripping here up towards 50, but make them break out above 47.65 tomorrow.
All right, with the next one, we have Shopify to the upside again.
Yeah, Shopify. Let's hope they can actually break out here up above 36.80. I think that looks like a pretty good intraday resistance. if they do break that, watch for a run up towards 37.40. I do like that as a potential profit target there.
All right, now with the last one, we are watching Tesla, but we need both directions on this one.
Good old Tessie. Yeah, I'm really glad to see this one popping back up today. If they pop up above resistance around 124.50, I will watch it to the upside. There is some resistance around 125 to 126, but 124.50 should be solid. If they end up falling down, please pray that they don't. But if they do end up falling down below 121, then I might look at some puts.
All right, so if it breaks below the level Tom listed, we're watching it for a day trade to the downside tomorrow, and that's Tesla. And if it breaks above the level Tom listed, we are watching it for a day trade to the upside. We also have the upside levels on Shopify and Coinbase, so make sure to keep those ones on your radar as well. But it is now time for the big money trade of the day. We had $1.7 million go into the PBR 12 strike call options that expire on April 21st of 2023. If you don't trade options, don't worry. I'm going to break this down in a nice and easy way. Basically, we have some fund, some smart money hedge fund or institution betting $1.7 million that PBR stock is going to rise a ton in the future. The higher it goes, the more money they will make, but they need it to go to at least $12 so their options are actually worth anything. PBR is a Brazilian petroleum company. It's bouncing in a pretty strong way off this $10 support, and it's been holding up decently over like the past year or two, which is good to see. Overall, this play is definitely a high risk play, but if it does end up winning, it could definitely be a monster trade.
Yeah, and a lot of these petroleum companies and oil companies and stuff like that, a lot of people always like to say that those type of energy sectors have a lot of manipulation. Like there's always different like government agencies trying to buy petroleum and produce more petroleum and et cetera, et cetera. So I feel like that some of these energy companies, to see people put like $1.7 million into a play like this is pretty cool. I think this could give us some good conviction. I don't like that the play is out of the money a little bit. Makes me think it could be some covered calls, but yeah, I mean, it's not too far out, honestly. Like we could easily get to $12 in just a couple weeks if this thing pops up, and it's going all the way out to April. So I think it could be good, Mike. PBR, at first I thought you meant it was the professional bull riding company for a second until you said what it was.
Alrighty, so keep an eye on PBR. The big money is expecting a lot of movement out of it soon. But with that being said, Tom, tomorrow's a big day, bank earnings like we talked about. Is there anything else that is close on your radar?
Yeah, I mean, the bank earnings are going to be the main thing. I will say if we look at the economic calendar, there is some Michigan consumer sentiment numbers coming out at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So those could end up being pretty big. They are preliminary numbers for January, so keep that in mind. Sometimes it causes some headline stirs, sometimes it doesn't, but I feel like it's still important to address. Other than that, though, Mike, I think that the big resistance around 400 on the SPY is going to be huge to watch here for the next few days. I feel like we might even just consolidate here for a couple days heading into next week, but we'll have to see. Hopefully those bank earnings propel us up.
You know it. Before we move on, I want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Easy Rider Danger. Awesome job with your day trade with UAL today, and thanks for being a great member of the community overall. So huge shout out to Easy Rider Danger and the StockedUp Discord community. But with that being said, guys, tomorrow's going to be a big day between the bank earnings, the continued move off of all of the inflation data that we got today, as well as the meme stocks starting to pick back up again. So tomorrow will definitely be a big day. And with that being said, support and resistance is going to be very important, of course, but the problem is a lot of people don't know how to use support and resistance the right way. So make sure to check out this video on the screen right now. I go over some very, very, very important trading things you need to know related to support and resistance. I promise you guys will like the video. Make sure to check it out.